the distributive property, which I have written here, A times B plus C, right? A times B plus C is equal to A times B plus A times C. So the distributive property just says that if you take two things that are being added together, right, B and C, and you want to multiply that sum by A, you just need to multiply A by B and A by C, right? That's what we've done here, A times B, plus A times C, and then add those together. Right? This property is used all the time in algebra classes and integrated math 1 classes. And so we want to get really used to the idea of using the distributive property or just distributing some term to some other terms that are being added or subtracted. So in this first example, we have 3 times x plus 2. Right? So we're going to multiply the 3 times x, and 3 times x is just 3 x's, 3x. And then we're going to multiply the 3 times the plus 2, the positive 2, which gives us a positive 6. So 3 times x plus 2 is the same as 3x plus 6. Those are always equivalent. No matter what number you plug in for x, you'll get the same result from either one. So we're going to practice a few of these easy ones to start with, and then we're going to see what happens when they get a little bit more complicated. So for this one, we have 3 times the quantity x minus 4. So we'll just do 3 times x, which just like last time was 3x. And then we'll do 3 times negative 4, right? Because it's a minus 4. So a 3 times a 4 is 12. But because it's a positive 3 times a negative 4, the sign in front should be a minus. Negative. So it's 3x minus 12. For the next one, we'll start with 4 times 2x. 4 times 2 is 8, so that's going to be 8x. And then we'll do 4 times plus 5. A 4 times a 5 is 20. And since they were both positives, it will stay as a positive 20. For the next one down here, we've got negative 2 times x, and we've got negative 2 times negative 5. Right? So negative 2 times x is just negative 2x. And then negative 2 times negative 5, well, 2 times 5 is 10. And since it's a negative times another negative, right, we have two negatives here. A negative times a negative is always a positive, so it'll be a plus 10 in between. We'll do 2 more of these. Hopefully you're getting the hang of it. If you need to pause to do them on your own to check and see if you're doing them right, go for it. But we'll just move right ahead here. Negative 3 times negative 5x. Well, a negative times a negative is going to be positive. And since 3 times 5 is 15, it'll be 15x. And then negative 3 times 7 is negative 21. For 5 times negative 2x, we should get a negative 10x. Positive 5 times negative 2 will be negative 10. And a positive 5 times a negative 1 will be minus 5. So what we might see on occasion is just a negative sign in front of the parentheses, right? So if we just have a negative sign out in front of the parentheses, that's like having a negative 1 there. You can treat it like it's a negative 1. So think about when I distribute that negative through, negative 1 times 2x is going to just be negative 2x. And negative 1 times negative 5, since that's 2 negatives, that'll make it a positive, and 1 times 5 is 5. The same here. We've got negative 3x plus 4, so negative 3x. 2 negatives make a positive, so it would be positive 3x, and a minus 4, because it was a negative 1 times a positive 4. Okay? So it just flips the signs of everything that's inside the parentheses. Now, while you may see that on occasion, what's more likely to show up and what is likely to trip up some students is when it is 6 minus an expression in parentheses, or 3 minus an expression in parentheses, right? Where we have some number, it might be a constant, it might be a variable expression, and then minus a bunch of things in parentheses. So we're still just distributing the negative sign to everything in here. And that 6 in the front isn't going to change. It's going to be 6. And then when I take the negative 1 that we're looking at here and distribute it to the 4x, we get minus 4x. And when I take that negative 1 and distribute it to the 2, we're going to get negative 2. Now, if you're already familiar with combining like terms, you should see that there are like terms here that can be combined, and we will always want to do this. If you're not sure about combining like terms, there's a video for combining like terms as well, which actually involves some distributing at the end. But in that video, you'll see that I underlined the constants, singular time, and underlined the different variable expressions a second time so that we can, sort of remember which things go together. So the 6 with the minus 2, well, 6 minus 2 is positive 4. And then we keep the sign in front of the 4x as a minus 4x. And it's important to know that you can also write this the other way. We could write negative 4x plus 4. Both of these are the same thing. Either of these would be a perfectly acceptable answer. And we'll note that when we went from the 4 minus 4x, the minus sign in front of the 4x stayed with it when we put it to the front in the second expression. So for this one, we've got 3, and then minus a minus 2x. Well, minus a minus is going to be a plus 2x. And then we have minus an 8, so minus 8. And again, we'll have some like terms here that we're going to want to combine together. The 3 and the minus 8 should come together to make negative 5, because 3 minus 8 is negative 5. And then there are no other expressions with just an x in them, so it's negative 5 plus 2x, which can be written that way. Or you could bring the 2x to the front. Since it has a plus in front of it, it just stays out in front as a positive 2x. And since the 5 had a negative sign in front of it, it will become a minus 5. So either of those answers is perfectly acceptable. And you should recognize that they are the same. We might also have a variable expression out in the front. So we're going to do the same process here for 3x minus the quantity 5x plus 1. We'll start with just the 3x. When I distribute the negative to the 5x, that will give me minus 5x. And when I distribute the minus to the 1, you'll get minus 1. You'll combine your like terms, 3x and negative 5x will become negative 2x. And the minus 1 doesn't have anything to combine with, so it'll be negative 2x minus 1. For this next one, we'll keep the negative 4x that's in the front. We'll distribute the negative 1 to the negative 2x, giving us a positive 2x, because negative 2x is positive 2x. And we'll distribute the negative 1 to the 6, giving us a minus 6. We can see, again, that we have like terms, negative 4x and 2x. And then we have a minus 6 afterwards, which doesn't have anything to combine with. So negative 4x plus 2x, negative 4 and 2 makes negative 2, so it'll be negative 2x. And then we will subtract the 6. And for this one, we'll note that there is a number here, right, in front of those parentheses again. Right, we have a minus 2 in front, so we want to make sure that we are distributing not just a 2, but the whole thing, the minus 2, gets distributed to both of these. So we start with the 4x, then negative 2 times 3x is negative 6x, and negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. So our like terms here are 4x and minus 6x, with a minus 2 that's kind of on its own. 4x minus 6x is negative 2x, and then the minus 2 will stay. So we'll just do a couple more of these, and then we will be done with our work with distributing. So we'll start with 5x. The minus 4 times the x is going to be minus 4x. And the minus 4 times the 3 is going to be minus 12. I'm going to stick with the underlining of the like terms. 5x and minus 4x are like terms. Minus 12 is its own thing. Since 5x minus 4x is just 1x, we'll just write an x and minus 12. For the next one, we'll start with 8, and then minus 3 is what we're distributing through. So minus 3 times 5x will be minus 15x, and minus 3 times 2 will be minus 6. Combining our like terms gives us 8 minus 6, or just 2. And then we still have a minus 15x. And keep in mind again that that's the same as if you want to write it as negative 15x plus 2. Okay? Either one of those would be perfectly acceptable. And for our last one, we'll start with a 2. And then it's minus 3 times minus 2x. Well, a negative 3 times a negative 2 should be a positive 6. And then there's an x attached to it, so positive 6x. And negative 3 times negative 7 ought to be positive 21. And again, we'll combine our like terms to finish it off. 2 and 21. And the 6x by itself. Normally we try and write the x's first, so I'll do that. 6x plus 2 plus 21 is 23. And that's the basics of using the distributive property to simplify down some expressions.